Hey, hello everyone, Brian back with an ADA update. Looks like kind of had a wrench thrown into our charts here. Alright, so we're going to look at this. We're going to see what Charles Hoskinson said in response to the SEC filings. And we're going to move on with life as usual here, okay? Well, that's all we can do, move on. But we're going to dig into these charts. Obviously, this coin is not going to zero. We all seen what happened with XRP. It's bounced back just fine. I remember the day that the SEC filed that lawsuit against Cardano, or XRP, sorry about that. I personally held quite a lot of XRP and scared the heck out of me. I remember it was right before Christmas they did that. In 2020, I believe that happened. So everything's going to work out just fine. One way or the other, even if these companies move to Europe where they do have clarification, that's probably more likely what's going to happen. You're going to see Ripple and Cardano wrap up business here and move out there. I would imagine that's what's going to happen. They got to be getting sick of this by now. I know us as crypto fans and crypto holders, we all have our own opinions on everything, but this stuff's getting a little old. You know what I mean? I mean, come on, when do the people have a say in this stuff? Yeah, it's our money that we're investing in this, and I don't know. Anyway, let's move on here. Let's see what Charles Hoskinson had to say. It says Cardano Foundation fires back at SEC calling ADA security. After the United States, the SEC named several cryptos, including Cardano, as securities in the lawsuit against crypto trading platform Binance. The CEO of Cardano Foundation has expressed his organization's disagreement. It says down here, the Cardano Foundation disagrees with the recent qualification of ADA as a security under U.S. law. We look forward to the continued engagement with regulators and policymakers to achieve legal clarity and certainty on these matters. Now over here, Charles Hoskinson actually put out a video we're going to look at here in a second. It says the crypto market experienced a shockwave as the SEC filed a lawsuit against Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, naming ADA as an unregistered security, shifting the Cardano price prediction overnight. In the lawsuit, which drove a steep decline in ADA price, the SEC named several cryptos, including Cardano, Solana, Polygon, as unregistered securities. Actually, there's like 64 of them or something. I had the list here. I should have pulled it up, but it says right here, with the SEC now categorizing over 115 billion worth of coins as unregistered securities, ADA has suffered a sharp decline in value. I wouldn't call it a sharp decline in value. Would it go from 37 cents to 32 cents? I mean, come on. But anyway, let's get down here. Is there a light at the end of the Binance SEC tunnel? Why we fight? Let's get a look at this and hear what Charles Hoskinson had to say.
Live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is June 5th, 2023. Another day in paradise, huh? So a lot of you watching are saying, oh, what's Charles going to say about recent news items and events, about Cardano, all these things going on? Well, it's a decentralized ecosystem, and the magic of being a decentralized ecosystem is this ecosystem is certainly going to speak for itself. Nobody speaks on behalf of it, and there are millions of people in it and thousands of people building on it, and we've already heard from DC Spark, we've heard from Wing Riders, and we're going to hear from everybody else. You see, the reality is that when you're a protocol that has inspired people and it means something to them, people take care of it. And it's really refreshing to see all of that in the last 12 hours. But I did want to make a video, a more philosophical one, that is in a broader context about why we fight. In 1942, U.S. Department of War released a series of 7 films called Why We Fight, that every single soldier that fought on the U.S. side of World War II was required to watch, so they'd understand what the point of the conflict was and what was at stake. Now, you can call it propaganda or you just call it good motivation, But the point was that there was a war of philosophies. On one hand, you had those who believed in democratic principles, consent of the governed, those who believed in liberty and freedom. And on the other side, you have these totalitarian regimes led by autocrats who basically wanted the world to follow their will, the few versus the many. And as we look to the 21st century and we look to where the world is moving, we face a similar philosophical debate. There are those, they're at WEF and other places, who feel that society has become intrinsically too complicated for people to govern themselves. And they feel that the few must, out of necessity, rule the many. And they wrap these things into mandates like ESG. You'll see other acronyms and words. But at the core, it's we know better than you. The cryptocurrency blockchain industry is not an industry of a single voice, a single mission. It just simply is a movement that has some loose principles about it. And those loose principles are power to the edges, disintermediate the middleman, and freedom for as many as possible. More importantly, it's also a principle that everybody plays by the same rules. See, that's what makes Cardano so special, and that's what makes Bitcoin special, Ethereum special, and other great protocols, is this idea that everybody has to play by the same set of rules. This is not the case with the legacy systems. This has never been the case with them. Certain people get certain special privileges based upon the families they're born into, the amount of money in their bank account, and the political connections that they have. So the magic of the system we're constructing, the world we're building together, is that if we pull it off, we reset the relationship of the governed with those who govern. And what that effectively means is that the 21st century can be the first century in human history that actually can have liberty and freedom. The United States is a complicated and difficult country. We were born of a disagreement, taxation without representation. And the only reason we got the right to be a great power was because of the tremendous personal sacrifice of those who fought in the Revolutionary War and the leader who decided to put country first over himself and resign his commission, allowing the United States to create a fertile democracy, one that has been challenged again and again. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement to today, no one's universally happy. In fact, most people are dissatisfied in general with the U.S. government. And this is an example of the industry in its state right now. The reason why people are so passionate about crypto is that it's not an investment product at its core. It's a philosophy, it's a political belief. It's just as much regulated by the FEC as it should be others, because what people are basically doing is saying, I believe in power to the edges. I believe in self-sovereign identity. I believe in freedom and liberty. And as a result, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and my time into this. And we're all going to come together and just figure it out and build it. An army of volunteers on a ragtag militia for the future. That's a very different thing than Microsoft and Google and Apple and Amazon and your run-of-the-mill company, your Nike, just do it. That's about all of us, each and every one of us. We just want some human rights. And we're not really so happy with where things are at. Nobody, if you poll them, would look and say, I believe the people in charge should be in charge, and we can't find anyone better. But we're stuck with them because of a political, bureaucratic, ossified process that has resulted in a two-party monopoly where it's all about power at any cost, politics. There isn't a lot of integrity there. We didn't start this industry. This industry was started in the response to a failed governance event, the 2008 financial crisis, which brewed from over 30 years of misconduct by central bankers like Alan Greenspan, Ben Bernanke, and the Treasury secretaries and U.S. policy, in an incestuous relationship with banksters who, by the way, suffered no consequences for destroying the American economy. And we were told again and again, whether it was the Black-Scholes crisis of '87 or the S&L crisis in the early '90s, or it was the long-term capital crisis of '98 or the collapse of Silicon Valley, or again it was 2008, and everything before, trust us, we know what we're doing, it'll all be better tomorrow. And yet another collapse, yet more corruption, yet more problems. So we said, you know what, we as an industry are going to come together and we're just going to do something different. Maybe we should have money that we control. Maybe we should have deflationary instead of inflationary monetary policies. Maybe, just maybe, we should own our own identity, be our own bank. Maybe, just maybe, we should have a say in how our data is used and be able to say no to something. One of the reasons I joined this industry, many years ago, I was a friend with a waitress whose husband was an undocumented immigrant, and he was a drywaller. I used to go to the restaurant she worked at, have lunch. One day I came in, she was crying, and I said, "What's going on?" She told me that her husband had been pulled over by police, and they saw that he had some money in the car. He was paid for a 2-month job, some cash. They confiscated it. It's called civil asset forfeiture, knowing full well that he couldn't defend himself out of fear of his status, and that they just basically get to keep the money. There was no probable cause for that. He explained to them that he was a drywaller, he'd just been paid. They took the money. That happens every day, civil asset forfeiture. That's the government we live in. That's the world we live in. This is the place we live in. And the reality is that we as a society can and must do better. We have to either acknowledge that we don't respect rule of law and property rights. We have to acknowledge that this is not a democracy, or we have to embrace systems that protect the individual. This was the intent of the Constitution. This was the intent of what we originally started the American experiment with. And because our governance system failed to live up to our expectations, we as citizens rose up peacefully, expressed our political will in speech, and created a new system. One that holds everyone accountable equally. It goes from don't be evil to can't be evil. One that says you have to consent before something happens. One where you're in control, not somebody you've never met. The next 10 years are going to be the biggest years of change in all of our lifetimes. This is it. It's like the 1930s staring at the 1940s. Everybody knows something's brewing. They don't quite know what exactly is going to happen, but they know nothing will ever be the same again. The reality is that we have a great convergence of trends and technologies which will completely redefine everything from how our governments operate, to who's in control, to who has a say over how your life goes. So quickly we noticed the COVID lockdowns, how we all went from living in a free society to not. How quickly can things change with the world of generative AI? With global transnational agreements being signed, where nation states no longer have full say over their people. And yes, finance is going to be in the crosshairs. There are people who want to create CBDCs, and these CBDCs are not just about more efficient money. They're not just about somehow getting rid of cash because that's better for society, according to a few. They're about putting the control of what you're allowed to spend your money on into the hands of people you've never met, you don't vote for, and are unaccountable to any legislative process, and in some cases don't even live in your country. If, for example, you've already filled your tank of gas this week, maybe you're not allowed to do that until next week because you've gotten your weekly allotment. That can be decided by a bureaucrat, not the president, not your congressman, but by someone you've never met from an agency you probably don't even know about. The same can be said for any activity that's determined to be not socially beneficial or fit into a particular agenda. This system is not a hypothetical scenario. It's one that's being put into place with social credit in the People's Bank of China today, right now, for over 1.5 billion people, and has already been deployed, thanks to partnerships with Tencent and others, to over 200 million people. Here in America, there are many people who subscribe that this is a good idea inside our federal bureaucracy. The only problem is that there's a glitch in the matrix. You see, you don't actually need to do a CBDC if your goal is efficient digital money. You can use a cryptocurrency for that. So our industry is an uncomfortable counterexample to a reality that some people have already decided the human race needs to exist within for the greater good, because of the proliferation of existential technologies, global warming, and other concerns that keep them up at night. Thus, our industry has to be captured. Sometimes they move quickly, sometimes they move slowly, but it's always one direction. A little less freedom every day, a little less opportunity every day, a little less innovation, a little less control, until one day you wake up like a boiling frog and it's gone. So the next 10 years is going to be the great test for all of us. And we have to stand up and rise to the occasion and tell people we should own our own money, own our own identity, and ultimately be in control of our lives. We shouldn't accept that out of convenience or fear that somebody we've never met, somebody who doesn't even live in our country, gets to have more say than the people we elect. That's something that we have gone past as a society, as a species. That's what you would expect living in ancient times and being conquered, not in a world that's post-enlightenment, where information is accessible instantaneously. It's going to be either a utopia or a hell. There isn't really a middle ground. So that's why we fight. That's why we're in the cryptocurrency industry. If you're here to make money, there's plenty of more money to be made in synthetic biology or AI or other things. If you just view this as some sort of passive investment, you've completely missed the entire point of where all the passion, the excitement, the enthusiasm, and the armies come from. There are tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people who have learned these lessons over the last 13 years and have decided to devote their lives towards freedom, and devote their lives towards a greater, better world. One where every single person rises together, not just the few. That's what I signed up for. That's why I fight. And that's why when you have some craziness in today or yesterday or tomorrow, it doesn't really bother me that much. You see, there will be bigger foes than this, that, or other. The reality is we're facing the entire global order. And I think we're going to win. Because I believe in the goodness of people. That's the last point. You have to make one big decision in life. Whether you believe people are fundamentally evil and corrupt, or you believe people are fundamentally good, but sometimes make mistakes. I've always, throughout my entire life, believed, end to end, that people are basically good. And if given an opportunity to rise, they can and they will. And based upon that belief, everything flows from there. You see, it's a big decentralized ecosystem. It's chaotic at times. But people will come together because they believe that we have an opportunity to do things not just differently, but better than we did before. And not just with Cardano, but the industry as a whole. The tens of millions of people, the trillions of dollars, the enormity of what we have been able to accomplish as an industry in the last 13 years makes everyone pale in comparison and truly cannot be stopped. We will see a day where DIDs are the dominant way of identifying people and you're in control of the keys, not a corporation or a government or a transnational body. We will see a day where when you have money in your wallet, you own that, not an IOU from an organization that at any time can take it from you for no particular reason, or you violated a particular policy or agenda. And we will see those who want to drag us into the past, who have authoritarian bends because they feel that they're better qualified to run your life and society than you are, return to the history books as yet another group of people that lost the political fight. Some days it's a hard road, some days it's an easy road. We've had a lot of easy times recently, but I've been in it since the beginning, and I can tell you that there were some harder times. We're now in a phase where we do have to have our voices be heard, and we do have to remind people that this is a collective exercise as one gargantuan, decentralized, resilient, living organism that just wants to improve things. For our part, we write protocols, we write code, and our protocols and code that we design and develop goes into the public domain. People debate it. Some people adopt it, other people don't. We are one cog in a gigantic machine, and you are too. So I think our future is brighter than ever. I think that we have our best days ahead of us, and I honestly do believe that the lessons of the past, if we take wisdom from them, can be applied here. It always seems dark, and it always seems like these are tough days. That's okay. They were tough days in the 1950s when my grandfather fought in the Korean War. They were tough days when, on the other side of my family, the Norwegian side fought against the Nazis in World War II. They were tough days when the Italian side immigrated to the United States with just the shirts on their back. A lot of hope they would be able to build a great life in America. And you know what? That's a story that so many of you listening have or are currently enduring. So when you have an army built with people like that who have true grit, we can endure some tough days. We can endure some chaos. We can endure a little bit of madness. Choke point 2.0 is a thing. We see it across the whole industry, from speedy banks being rejected accounts to basically everything becoming a security now, I guess. But if you widen the aperture and you look at the overall progress, we've gone from being totally ignored to winning as an ecosystem. All we have to do is just keep building. And all we have to do is allow our voices to be heard and remind people we're not going away. Freedom is only one generation away at any given time from being completely and absolutely lost, because those who come after us may not remember the lessons that we had to learn. And every generation has to rediscover what freedom means for them. Never allow anyone to tell you that you don't deserve human rights. Never allow anyone to tell you that you don't deserve to be in control of your own identity, your money, your economic agency, and ultimately your voice. And anyone who tries to take it from you, remind them that that's not how we do things in the 21st century. Every human being on this planet, no matter where they're born, who they're born to, what political system they're in, is equal. That's the faith I keep. And that's the belief I keep. So thank you all for being on this journey with me. It really is fun. I'm going to be here tomorrow. You're going to be here tomorrow. We're all here together. Till next time, my friends, have a wonderful day. Cheers.
Wow. Was that awesome or what? Unbelievable.
Live.
Charles Hoskinson, geez. Charles Hoskinson for president. Wow, that guy can get you fired up. So there's his response to the SEC. I felt like I had to get that out there. Let's look at this chart real quick. I can't do anything compared to that. That was pretty awesome. And this is ADA on the daily, guys. We have only dropped 5 cents here since this announcement. Okay, this thing is far from over. I don't see any panic selling down here. I don't see any big dumps of coins. We zoom in here. Look at that. Down here at the volume, down at the very bottom of the screen, if you don't know where to look for it, down here is the volume bars. This is on the daily, okay? Monday was right there. What was that? Let's see. I can't even see it. Not a very big red candle. 10 million. 10 million coins. All right, so you can see that we've had bigger red ones over here, 28 million. All right, no big deal. We'll move on past this. This thing is way from over, so let's hang in there. We have lost this wedge right now. I'm sure we are going to go back up here and have a retest of this area. All right, so hopefully we can break back into this. If we go over the RSIs, well, you can see the daily RSI is almost reset now on this thing. That thing is getting down towards the bottom there. The weekly, it's a 29 and a 33. It's actually it's still correcting, and the monthly is fully corrected. It's heading up. It's at a 41 and a 35 on the monthly RSI for ADA. So I believe, and I still hold this belief, I believe Bitcoin is going into a retrace real soon, not a new bull market. I don't believe that's going to start till next year, but I have my total beliefs that we are headed into a retrace. All right, this monthly RSI, it's only roughly a quarter of the way up. We get that weekly reset, and I believe this market is still going to fly. Bitcoin dominance actually went back today and regained its wedge. I can show you this here. Let's go on the daily. You can see the other day when we lost that wedge, the thing fell out down through there. Right, this is on the daily chart. We were losing Bitcoin dominance by the day, and yesterday this thing fired back right back up into that wedge. So it's back up at a 48.07. So all right guys, please hit the like and subscribe, and I will get back to you soon. Everybody have a fantastic night.